A look back at the good, bad, and ugly in the Cubs series. What do the numbers look like since Contreras got pulled from catching duties? And we've got a preview of this weekend in Beantown on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow me on Twitter at JD Sports Radio and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We are free, also available on YouTube. If you haven't checked us out there, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. That way you can interact with us and hit the notification button so you know when the new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's show being brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So the St. Louis Cardinals just won 2 out of 3 in Chicago against the rival Cubs. They got 2 solid games where if one part of the three-piece equation of hitting, pitching, and defense went down, the other pieces picked up their game. In game 1 on Monday, they won 3-1. So offense wasn't exactly clicking, but the pitching and the defense looked really, really good. Miles Mikolas had a decent game. When it comes to Miles, you're hoping he can start throwing deeper into games. You know, you only got 4 1/3 from him in this one, but when you see 1 run on 4 hits and 7 strikeouts, you're going to take that, considering how bad things have been for the starting pitching so far this year. Bullpen was fantastic. Cabrera, Hicks, Helsley, you guys were wonderful. You guys were great. No costly errors. That was huge. Brendan Donovan throwing out that runner at home. Great play there. But the defense being more what we're used to when it comes to the St. Louis Cardinals, it's good to see finally, because a lot of those errors led to ugly innings against the team this season, which, then got things going in the wrong direction. Game 2, the offense steps up. They score 6 runs with dingers from Gorman, Nootbaar, and DeYoung. And while Jack Flaherty wasn't great, he did get you through 5 innings. I know it's not great to say that, but it's something. The bullpen's strong again, and once again, you had steady defense that didn't cost you anything. Then you had game 3 where Monty was bad. Heck, the pitching in general was bad. They got bludgeoned for 10 runs on 14 hits. The offense gets 3 off of Justin Steele, who's been one of the best pitchers in the league this year, going all the way back to last year. The guy's been fantastic. Made a huge mistake, by the way, in my Sorare lineup. I accidentally flipped him for a new card. Stupid. But things got out of hand in the middle innings on this one. You don't complete the sweep. That's a bummer. But what I like is that the team was able to, first off, win a game. We ended the losing streak in the previous series, but again, baby steps here. They win the game, they win a series, and they do it in a couple of different ways. And they do it in a way that, like, a complete team wins baseball games. Some nights the offense, it's going to be minimal. You're going to face really good pitching some nights, and that's when your pitching has got to step up. Got to be able to compete against that. Vice versa. Some nights your pitching won't be great, which unfortunately we've seen a lot of this year. And the offense has to do more to win ball games. The spot where things have been weird, at least for the Cardinals, were all the mental and physical errors on defense, on the base paths, etc. Just the little things that kept slipping through the cracks with this team that would cause bad innings to either begin and then spiral out of control later on. Being able to keep those things to a minimum will do wonders for this team moving forward. But the unforced errors, as I like to call them, to steal a term from the tennis world, where you're just doing things to damage yourself. It's not the other team doing anything special against you. It's literally you hurting yourself. Those are the things you have to control. And in this series, the Cardinals did that. And they took 2 out of 3 because of it. Now, sure, they take it on the chin on Wednesday. But my good from the series is the complete wins that we saw. And of course, the birth of Villain Willie. Villain Willie, you gotta love this guy. Wilson Contreras has done everything right, has gone about his business since getting demoted, and enjoyed it. Enjoyed his time in Chicago. I hope he can continue to keep it up moving forward. That was a lot of fun watching him enjoying getting booed from the Cubs fans and doing damage against his former team. That was great. My bad from the series would go to one Jack Flaherty. Flaherty is trending in the wrong direction again. This is not good for Jack Flaherty. And this has nothing to do with what he was saying in the clubhouse after the game. Okay. I'm not worried about personality stuff. That doesn't bother me. I'm talking about strictly on the field. He's going in the wrong direction. He has allowed 18 runs in his last 3 starts and only through 12 innings in those 3 appearances. He had gotten his ERA under 4 before that, and now it's back up over 6. And statistically, he's been one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball this year. Like, it's not good. Nothing that he has done has really worked out. I don't know what it's going to take to turn him around, to get him back to being the Jack Flaherty that we wanted coming into this year, that you saw earlier on in his career. And this is not me picking on him. This is just the simple truth. He has been one of the worst starting pitchers in Major League Baseball this year. My ugly is going to go to Jordan Montgomery. And I know he wasn't supposed to be the ace of this staff coming into the season, but he's been their best starter early on. And to lay an egg like that, where he gives up 6 runs, 7 hits, 2 home runs, he walks 3, and does all of that damage in just 5 innings, it's pretty disheartening. It's Monty's second worst start of the year. He also got shelled by the Diamondbacks on April the 18th. But outside of those 2 starts, there hasn't been hardly anything to complain about when it comes to Jordan Montgomery this year. He's been really, really good, but it was kind of deflating to get to that moment where you go for the sweep against the Cubs. Everything seems to be moving in the right direction. In fact, he started the game and he looked pretty darn good. And then as soon as runners got on base, it was all over. So that was a bummer. Despite it only being May 12th, I've already started seeing write-ups. I wanted to bring this up too about certain teams being sellers at the trade deadline. And one of those was recently done by MLB.com's Mark Feinsand. And with the record being the way it is, the Cardinals were one of the teams that he listed along with the A's, the Giants, Nationals, Reds, Rockies, Royals, and White Sox. Most of those teams, you had an idea that they weren't going to be very good this year. The Cardinals were not one of those that was supposed to be this bad. And the 2 big names from the rotation that he mentions in his article were Jordan Montgomery and Jack Flaherty, who are both set to become free agents. He also mentions other impending free agents like Drew Verhagen, Chris Stratton, and then Jordan Hicks, plus outfielder Tyler O'Neill and infielder Paul DeYoung. When is too early to start trading? Well, that's kind of based on what other teams around the league need, right? You know, if they're all pretty healthy and content with where they're at, nobody's going to want any of these guys off the Cardinals. I know everybody's like, it's time to make trades. We need to make change. Trades, you have to have a partner. You have to have a partner to make trades. And if nobody wants the people on your roster, you're kind of stuck with them. And even if the Cardinals get things moving in the right direction here, outside of Montgomery, would any of these names, though, just being honest, would any of these names that he's brought up here, if you traded any of them, would it cripple your chances of being any good? Just kind of shows you what their worth would be to other teams right now. I would hate to lose Hicks. I think you could get something pretty good for Hicks based on his potential. But if you see a deal that makes sense, I'm not opposed to a trade. I don't think it's the right time. I think the front office is going to give this team plenty of opportunities to get their you-know-what together and try to get back in this thing, especially with the division being as weak as it is. You know, this isn't like the AL East where the last place team right now, the New York Yankees, are 21-18, while the NL Central leading Pirates are just 21-17. Like, the Yankees would be right there. The other big story, in case you forgot, was the Wilson Contreras not catching shenanigans. And we're going to talk more about that now. We're actually going to take a look at the numbers since it happened, since the demotion happened. We're going to take a look at the numbers to see if anything has really changed since that all went down. We'll be doing that next here on Locked On Cardinals. Our new sponsor, Sorare, is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. And unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. And win or lose, you get to keep your cards. There's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting more powerful cards and accessing next level competitions and rewards. You've got things like Sorare scarcity cards that you can get, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting actual MLB stars. If this interests you, head to Sorare.com/locked on. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards. Set your lineup and start competing today to win those epic rewards. I told you, I made a huge mistake. You get these where you get to swap out a card every 24 hours. So you try to improve your team all the time. And I was swapping and I hit the wrong button and I accidentally swapped out Justin Steele for, who did I get? I believe it was like a first baseman. Like, it wasn't something, I didn't mean to do it. And I made a huge mistake. You got to pay attention because now it's going to set me back. Like, I just got rid of one of the best starters in baseball. That's painful. But hopefully I'll get it turned around. Maybe I'll get a chance to grab him again. But it's actually a very enjoyable game. So if you want to try it, do it. Sorare.com/locked on. Once again, that's Sorare.com/locked on to start playing today. The Cardinals are in Boston this weekend, and you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals Hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Now, if you missed yesterday's conversation with top 30 prospect Ian Bedell, I recommend that you go back and listen to it because we talked a bit about being comfortable with your catcher, what that means. You know, having that guy behind the plate, calling pitches for you, and how the pitch clock has altered the timing on how a game is called, which is something that was, brought up when the Cardinals decided to pull Wilson Contreras from his catching duties for the time being. It's not permanent. He's going to get back there. But the decision was announced on May 6th. So we've had 5 games since then. And in that time span, the Cardinals have gone 3-2, which is good, all things considered. But how has the pitching staff responded? That's what people want to know. That's the real question. So we're going to do a before and after exercise here. And I want to give some credit here to Bernie Miklas over at scoopswithdannymac.com. And you can also hear him on 590 The Fan in St. Louis. Been one of my favorite writers about Cardinals baseball since I was a little kid. So I love everything that Bernie does. And he's really good with the research and pulling up stats and stuff. And he did all the research here. Okay, so I want to give him credit. He put a lot of this into a recent article that he wrote. But here's what we got. Before Contreras was moved, the starter's ERA was at 5.39. After Contreras was pulled, Cardinal starters have an ERA of 5.47. And they haven't lasted longer than 5.1 innings. Before the demotion, the strikeout rate was at 18%. After, it was at before the demotion, strikeout rate was at 20.3%. After, 18%. Their walk rate before the move, 8.4%. After, it's up to 10%. Before the move, their walks hits per inning were at 1.55. Afterwards, that goes up 1.70. Before the catching change, opponents batted .294 with a 837 OPS against Cardinal starters. Afterwards, they're batting .313 with a 913 OPS. 2 strike counts. That's been a huge issue for this team. They're giving up home runs and hits all the time after getting ahead on hitters. Before the switch, .261 average, .423 slugging. After the switch, .296 average, .463 slugging. So you take this information. What's the excuse for the pitching staff now? Nothing has gotten better since you made Wilson Contreras a DH and you took away his catching duties. Are you going to blame Andrew Kisner now? Of course not. Of course not. The problem is not the catcher. That's really what we're getting at here. The problem is not the catcher. It's the starting pitching staff. They haven't been very good. And we all thought they weren't going to be all that great coming into the season. We all kind of knew that. If you talk to anybody who watches Major League Baseball and ask them their opinion on what are the Cardinals good at, what's their weaknesses, I would say 99.9% of people would have said their starting pitching was the weakness. We knew it wasn't going to be all that great because you didn't improve. You didn't go out and get anybody. You didn't make any trades. You didn't do any free agent stuff to improve your starting pitching. I mean, you were hoping that Jack Flaherty would become the guy you saw 3 years ago. But the odds weren't great that a turnaround like that would happen. Too many injuries. It's been too long. I mean, how many times do you ever see that somebody who was really good like 3 years ago goes through all of that and then comes back and is the same guy? It just doesn't really happen. You were hoping that Steven Matz would be better than what you saw last year before the injuries occurred, and he hasn't been. The Waino injury didn't help, but you told us you had 6 starters. Remember? Remember that? Everybody was like, okay, who's your starting 5? Well, actually, we got 6. That's how good we are. That's what we were told. And neither Jake Woodford or Dakota Hudson are good enough to start consistently at the major league level. And that's based off what they've shown when they've gotten their chances. Woodford had a great spring. It didn't turn into a great regular season. Maybe one start. I think there was one start that he was pretty good in. The rest of them, kind of bad. Dakota Hudson, we haven't even seen. Miles Michaelis' slow start definitely didn't help things out, and he's shown signs of being better. And then there's Monty, who we've already talked about. He's been strong, but having Kisner back there sure didn't help him out against the Cubs the other night, did it? It wasn't like all of a sudden he was dominant again. And Contreras has been catching him for the most part this season. And now because of this fiasco that you've created, you've got a third catcher on your roster who never plays. He's got in one game since May the 6th. Seems like a bit of a waste of a roster spot to me. The same way you weren't using Taylor Motter. Like he's just rotting over there on the bench. Motter wasn't playing either, so it's whatever. Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe you're fine with that. I just feel like it's a waste of a spot. There's nobody who can contribute and help you in a situation if you need him. I mean, when is Barrero going to come up and pinch hit for somebody if you need that? He's not. He's just going to sit over there. And I'm sure the Cardinals will point out that, hey, this is a small sample size, which it is. I understand that. But still, does anyone really think that this was all Wilson's fault? Does anybody believe that still? I know I don't. I never did. And I'm pretty sure most of you feel the same way. The boys are in Boston to battle the Red Sox this weekend. We're going to preview that series next on Locked On Cardinals. Buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. It should be fun. Going online and finding the right tickets to the right events that you want to go to. And Gametime is the best way to make that happen. It's fast, it's easy, and it's not just sports. You can talk about concerts. You know, summer concert series are coming. You got music, comedy, theater, all of that. You can get tickets through Gametime. Great deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. Stop stressing. You got to stop stressing over these things. It should be fun. Start getting excited for the events you're going to go to. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. So you saw the NFL schedule just got dropped and you want to go see your favorite team play. You don't have to plan it out now. They're going to have things like the exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, Like I mentioned, concerts, all of that. And they've got the game time guarantee. And that means you'll always get the best price. Even if you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, they're going to compensate you. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And they send those tickets directly to your phone. You don't have to go try and find it through your email. Get the tickets without the stress, and you can do it with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Cardinals send Adam Wainwright to the mound tonight against the Red Sox, and you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. The Boston Red Sox, let's talk about them. They're in third place in the AL East at 22-16. They are 8-2 in their last 10, so it's not like you're actually getting them at a great time, which is bad news for the Redbirds. Let's talk about more bad news. How about their offense? The Boston Red Sox offense, pretty darn good. Fourth in the major leagues with a 269 batting average. They're fourth in OBP, fourth in slugging, and third in OPS, which, great. Considering how bad the Cardinals pitching staff has been this year, doesn't give me a lot of hope coming into the series. And to make things worse, that's right, they get worse. At home, at Fenway, where the games will be taking place this weekend, the Sox are first in average, first in OBP, second in slugging, and first in OPS in all of Major League Baseball. They're the best home hitting team in the league. They lead the league in hitting against right-handers at 277. They're fourth in home runs against righties, third in OBP, second in slugging, and second in OPS. I bring that up because guess what? The Cardinals will have Waino tonight and then Michaelis on Sunday, who are both right-handed. So that's not good. Their big boppers are Rafael Devers. He's got an AL leading 11 home runs. He's second in all of baseball with 34 RBIs. So maybe don't pitch to that guy. Give him the Barry Bonds treatment this weekend. There's no shame in that. If it helps you win ball games, don't feel bad. Alex Verdugo has also been a solid contributor to this team. He's another left-handed bat. He's hitting 308 with 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, and a team-leading 29 runs scored, which is the 5th most in baseball. Japanese import Masataka Yoshida has been very, very strong since coming over. 298, 6 home runs, 24 RBIs. And they've got former Dodger Justin Turner, who always feels like he's been a thorn in the Cardinals' side. I don't have the stats that back that up. It just seems like he's always doing things against them when he was with the Dodgers. And they've got outfielder Jarren Duran, who is a guy I'd keep an eye on in this series as well. He's one of the younger players, just 26, but he's had a strong start to the year. So now that I've depressed everyone about the offense, I got some good news, though. Their pitching has not been very good, specifically the starting pitching. Their team ERA is the 5th worst in baseball at 4.89. The Cardinals are 10th, by the way, in case you're wondering, and we know how much they've struggled. Their starters ERA, 6.01, which is the 3rd worst in baseball. They've allowed 38 home runs, which is the 3rd highest in the league. Your scheduled starter for tonight, James Paxton. You might remember him from his days with the Mariners, where he was a pretty decent left-hander. This is going to be his first game of the season. In fact, it's his first game for the Red Sox since they signed him in 2021. He missed all of last year recovering from Tommy John surgery, and then he began this season out with a hamstring issue. His last major league start was actually with the Mariners on April 6th, 2021. It's been a long time since he's been on a major league mound. So cobwebs and stuff, maybe a little overexcitement, maybe some nervousness being back out there. Maybe they can take advantage of that tonight. On Saturday, they have got 7-time All-Star Chris Sale doing the pitching. And he's another lefty who can be very, very wicked at times. Like, has moments where he looks elite still. But he's had his fair share of injuries since coming to Boston. 3-2 this season, ERA over 6, but has won his last 2 outings, beating Cleveland and Philly. In fact, he struck out 10 in his last game against the Phillies, and he had an 11 strikeout performance earlier in the year against Minnesota. So he's somebody that can come out and just dominate you. But there's also inconsistencies where he can become hittable and he can become wild. So We don't know which Chris Sale we're going to see on Saturday. Hopefully we get the one that is not as good for the Cardinals' benefit. And then on Sunday, you've got two-time Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber. But he is not the Cy Young guy that you remember. Hasn't been that kind of a dominant player since 2018 due to a number of injuries. He's been through a lot. Since 2019, he's bounced around the league, went from Cleveland to Texas to the Yankees to Tampa Bay. Now he's in Boston, so he's made his way around the AL East. He's 2-4. ERA also over 6 on the year. And at Fenway, he's even worse. He's 0-3 at Fenway, and his ERA is almost at 8. So he's pretty hittable. So looking at this, none of these guys, maybe Chris Sale scares you, but you're talking about 3 veterans who all have really bad injury histories trying to get things right against the Cardinals this weekend. Will we see some crazy offensive games? It's a possibility. The odds are good. So thinking about that, my pick to click for this weekend, and it's got to happen at some time, doesn't it? I'm going with Nolan Arenado this week. And I think this is the weekend where Nolan gets right. Like I said, he's got to turn it around at some point. This weekend is as good as any. He's my pick to click. Just going to go with my gut here and go with the odds. That finally, because he started to hit a few balls harder in Chicago. I think he's going to get there. He gets to face 2 lefties this weekend as well. So that's who I'm rolling with. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Be sure to catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast for this weekend series against the Red Sox at historic Fenway Park with SiriusXM. On the SXM app, just search Cardinals. You got a 6:10 start tonight. All St. Louis times, by the way. 6:10 start tonight. 3:10 on Saturday, and then ESPN game on Sunday night with another 6:10 start. So should be a fun weekend. Hopefully the Cards can at least pull another weekend series win out of their hats, get 2 out of 3. That would be great. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.